All right, I'll continue with that first paragraph of Federalist number 7. He says, at different times, it would be a full answer to this question to say, precisely the same inducements which have, at different times, deluged in blood all the nations in the world. But unfortunately for us, the question admits of a more particular answer. There are causes of differences within our immediate contemplation, of the tendency of which, even under the restraints of a federal constitution, we have had sufficient experience to enable us to form a judgment of what might be expected if those restraints were removed. He is saying that we will be drowned in blood. We will go to war, shed one another's blood, kill one another if we do not unite, like history teaches us other countries, other peoples have. And he says, right now we've had a constitution because we had to unite under the because we were in war, and the Articles of Confederation, our first constitution, has kept us from killing one another. It's because the war was going on. But now that the situation has changed, now that we're independent states now, we can no longer be sure that the first constitution we have had, the Articles of Confederation, is going to stop us from going to war with one another. And the reason is, look at the 13 states, okay? Like this is the state of Virginia. At that time, this part became state of Kentucky. So if you look at the map, this is Kentucky, this little area is Tennessee, on and on. Other states came out of these little regions. So what Hamilton is talking about, he says every one of these states claims that the piece of land to the west of them, at least the areas in blue, partly belongs to them because they went to war against Britain. They won their independence. They won the war. So all these lands belong to all of them. And here Hamilton is reminding them that maybe it has not happened yet, even though states have shown that they might be going against one another soon, even though they have not started killing each other. But he says pretty soon, every state is going to say, this is the part that I claim, this is the part that belongs to my state. And soon enough, we'll start killing one another, and we will definitely turn into 13 different countries, and we then will be weak, and the European powers, those monarchies that we've talked about, Spain, Britain, and France, will start taking advantage of us, and our future will no longer be a good future. We will be divided. We will be tools of the monarchical powers, and we cannot have a good future in that sense. Okay, I'll start with paragraph 2. Paragraph 2 is pretty long, so I might have to just break it into different parts for you. Okay, starts, territorial disputes have at all times been found one of the most fertile sources of hostility among nations. Territorial disputes means the arguments, the fights over piece of land, piece of territory. Which part belongs to my country? Which part of this land belongs to your country? And that has been a great source, excuse, reason for nations to go to war. Perhaps the greatest proportion of wars that have desolated the earth have sprung from this origin. It says most of the wars that have destroyed people's livelihood, destroyed their way of lives, has been because of dispute, argument over territory. This cause would exist among us in full force. This is a big thing amongst us. He's reminding them that look, we got so much land, and there are so many claims to it by different states. We have a vast tract of unsettled territory within the boundaries of the United States. There still are discordant and undecided claims between several of them, and the dissolution of the Union would lay a foundation for similar claims between them all. It is well known that they have heretofore had serious and animated discussions concerning the right to the lands which were ungranted at the time of the Revolution, and which usually went under the name of Crown lands. The states within the limits of whose colonial governments they were comprised have claimed them as their property, and others have contended that the rights of the Crown in this article devolved upon the Union, especially as to all that part of the Western Territory which either by actual possession or through the submission of the Indian proprietors was subjected to the jurisdiction of the King of Great Britain, till it was relinquished in the Treaty of Peace. This, it has been said, was at all events an acquisition to the Confederacy by compact with a foreign power. It has been the prudent policy of Congress to appease this controversy by prevailing upon the states to make cessions to the United States for the benefit of the whole. This has been so far accomplished as, under a Constitution of the Union, to afford a decided prospect of an amicable termination of the dispute. A dismemberment of the Confederacy, however, would revive this dispute and would create others on the same subject. So he says, we won the war, we signed the Treaty of Peace. All this land that was under the possession of the Crown has come to us now. And we have already seen that different states have been claiming different pieces of land. But fortunately, up to now, under the Articles of the Confederation, the Continental Congress, when he says Congress, that's what he means. He says the Continental Congress has calmed people down, has said, if you give us that land, if you let us have it for all of us, when he says cession, C-E-S-S-I-O-N, means to grant the land to Congress, to give it to Congress so that the Congress can use it to benefit all the states. He says, so far, we have been able to be reasonable and not start wars over it. But he's warning that this is not the case. This can no longer be done under the old Constitution. States are starting to say, this is part of my land. Virginia used to say, this is all their land. And there were always competition between these states who controls that piece of land. The same thing in the South. So he's again warning them that we have seen in the history of the world, majority of the wars have been over disputes over land, because of disputes over land. And he says, we are no different. Same human nature at work. Our people will do the same thing. They will claim that a piece of land belongs to them. They fought for it. It was at one time the Crown's land, belonged to the Crown or King of England, but now it's ours, and we want our share. And Hamilton reminds them again, if you are not united and don't give the control of all this territory to the Union, you will be going to war soon. So beware. That's why he used the deluge of flood, the deluge of blood. Blood will flow because of wars, and we will be sorry for it.